Hey guys, I'm Franck from the Foodbarn Restaurant, and today I'm going to show you how to shuck an oyster. So these are beautiful little oysters. My preference is oysters from the cold water, from the Atlantic side. As you can see, again, when picking oysters, you want to make sure that they're fairly heavy. The fact that they're heavy means they're full of water. Obviously, compared to their size, and then you must look at them, make sure they're not open. If they are open already, it means they're struggling. They've been out of the water for too long. There is a rule for oysters. If you put an oyster down, pointing away from you, so I can have one, I can have two, the oysters are pointing away from me, but the rule is, the muscle that keeps the oyster closed is always in that area. So it's always, once the oyster is pointing away from you, it's always going to be on the left hand side, just before the bottom of the oyster. That's where the muscle is. This is where you need to get in to shuck that oyster. So what you do is, obviously, to protect your hand, you can put the oyster in a cloth, and then with a knife. This is a homemade oyster knife. You can buy oyster knife. Generally, it's a short blade, quite sharp, and basically what you need to do is you need to insert the blade in the gap between the two shells, and then you need to find the gap. So once you're in, so I found the gap here. Once you're in, without strength, you just wiggle your way in, and in the area where the muscle is, and very easily, without any fighting, you basically snap. Now if you look here, can you see that? This is what I've gone through, this here, and that is what keeps the oyster closed. Very important to not use strength, rather use technique, because then that way you don't put shells everywhere inside the oyster. Also, the oyster has that beautiful seawater in it. The water, you can toss it away. The first water, you toss it away at the same time as the shells, that way. And the oyster will fabricate more water, because that's what they do. That's their job in the ocean, is what they do is they filter seawater, and then you just put it ready for consumption. This is just a plate with a few pebbles and some ice, just to make it look a bit funkier. But I mean, this is a perfectly shucked oyster. It's already starting to make water again, and there's not one shell in it. If you want to do it one step further, you take the oyster, and what you do is you detach it. So what you do is you gently find the muscle where it's held together, and then you snap it off and you flip it over like this, and that way that oyster is just ready to go down. You don't need to do anything, you just lift it up and let it disappear. Maybe a squeeze of lemon or a bit of vinaigrette on it, and happy days.